Hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. I'm your host, DBJ, and yesterday did a little bit of a rant talking about the simplistic nature of evil in tabletop role playing games. But I would like to make a hard left turn to the other side of the spectrum and talk about a television show that I think we probably should have been talking about quite a bit more on this channel, and we haven't. And that is Arcane, and how Arcane takes a very simple idea, actually quite simplistic, and us versus them mentality, and chef's kiss, just as a masterclass of personal motivation, in which we have a slew of characters and actions and everything in this animated show. And in this television show, it's just filled with nothing but um, personal motivations and how intricate we can get when it comes to uh, uh, the rationalization various characters have, their own agendas and personal motivations, and how society has offended them in so many ways, and making each of these characters, as you follow their stories along, making them the heroes of their own story and the bad guy, the villain in everyone else's. So yeah, we'll talk about that. And I thought I would just show a little bit of a little montage here as we talk about Arcane, to get an idea, especially if you've never seen this show. And mind you, you don't. We're going to talk very generally, uh, so you don't have to see the show. Although I will give. We will be talking about the various characters. There's a lot of characters, and the vast majority of them are very interesting. Even a lot of the secondary characters as well. There's like guardians and whatnot. So yeah, um, some I carve time out sometimes in the mornings. So while I tend to set everything up just prior to 6 a.m. in the morning, I get up about 5 or 5:30 in the morning, and then I like watch things in chunks. If you're asking about how the heck I'm able to even see any of this stuff, so yeah. So anyway, oh, you're okay. He's like, more TV do I have to watch? Yeah. Okay, so let's get into some of the characters that are our main characters in this show. And let's see if I can even pause this video. Actually, I don't have to pause it. I'll just let it play on, because it's just really, I mean, the animation is just really cool. It's got that oil painting slash um, juices. I would say the show is a masterclass in multiple things, especially foreshadowing and throwbacks. Very much so. So what is Arcane? Like, what it takes place in a world in which there's a bit of a fantastical, uh, would you even say Victorian, uh, techno Victorian era, and but the main most important part of, ooh, that was a great scene to pause on. Let's go back a couple seconds. Oh, not that one. When oh hey Vander. Yeah, we'll just pause it right there. So there are many of these characters in the show, and it takes place in a world of the haves and have-nots. There's a city on high of gold and glamour, and that is Piltover. And below that is the lower city. It is what the people there would call Zon. Yeah, it's cartoon, animated, I guess would be a better way of calling it than a cartoon. Some people would get pretty upset if you just called it that. But yes, it's an animated television show, and so you have the glitz and glamour city, and then you have the downtrodden, the people that live below, and so y- that that idea is very classic, and a lot of the story elements of this show are very classic in terms of how the the show rationalizes its storytelling. And that's where we start. We start this show with a bit of a flashback, a throwback, a flashback, like Drew mentions, where there was a failed rebellion of the lower city against the upper city, and we're not really certain exactly what it's like, but we're given a lot of those that imagery. And in that imagery we see that the soldiers of the upper city, the soldiers of Piltover, are gas masked and they've got long guns and firearms, and the downtrodden ones have to run. And one of our characters named Vander, he's daddy in the show, and Vander's got a choice, and you can see that there are these children, two young girls, and in many ways he's looking at himself and the blood on his hands and this failed rebellion, and he grabs the two girls and he leaves. And you can tell in that very moment we have a character who's got and all of these characters have dual motivations. They have a primary motivation that's on the surface, and they've got a secondary motivation beneath the surface. And we see our first character, Vander, an adult in this show, and he's like, do I continue the rebellion knowing that we are at a state where we're going to fail, or do I grab these two children and take care of them? Yeah, well, I watch like Saturday morning cartoon. Yeah, this episode dropped for me at 9 a.m. Oh yeah, I didn't watch it live like when it first dropped, but I was able to get to it. The second season, I'm still trying to work my way through it, watching it like in 10-minute spurts, and I hate watching things when I'm extremely distracted. So I it's hard for me to get through things that are intricate in that manner. So the we have our character Vander, and Vander, as this is a flashback, we get to the point where Vander lives, down in the bottoms, and he runs a bar, and he's raising these two girls, and the two girls are Powder and Vi. Powder's name eventually changes to Jinx, but he raised two girls, and uh, Vander is well respected because he's a very honorable individual, but also is a little bit defeated and knows that if they try to continue this rebellion, to be respected, to be honored, to have things that the upper city, that the city of the Piltover, that the rich folks have, that it can lead to a lot of death and destruction. And is it really worth it? Is it really worth it to engage in this kind of activity? Vander's uh, best friend, brother in arms, is another character, a great villain, I guess, if you have to place a villain. And you can talk spoilers to me. I don't mind. You're fine. I'm. It's not like I'm not going to go see it and go, "Oh, you ruined it for me." No, 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 no. Arcane is so good that I'd still want to watch it anyway. Um, as far as I've gotten in the second season is that Jinx and Vi have found the mutated, deformed body of bestial body of Vander, their dad, and and they have taken him to Victor, the Messiah of sorts, and that's as far as I've gotten. And I've already heard that, like, I think Vander gets killed, like the character, they can't cure him, and then he gets killed or something like that. I've already seen Vi with her black locks. She's got the double wolf head jacket on and stuff. Yeah, I've already seen that part. So that's as far as I've gotten in the second season. Now, one of the great things in the show is that each of these characters in the show has these like dual motivations, and for the most part, even internally, I think the characters believe, and the way we're the characters are told to us, that their dual motivations tend to be parallel, and at a certain point, there is a uh, left turn, right turn, right? It's which way do I go? And that these two motivations that reside in each of them end up splitting. And when they split down the highway, these characters have to decide which direction they want to go. So, for example, uh, Vi, who yeah, emo goth punk vibe, such a mood. I loved it. Yeah, yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, I've heard some not controversy, but there are people talking where the, the characters we follow the characters' motivations, and because we're following the motivations, they turn from like the protagonist to the antagonist. And I think it rubs some people the wrong way slightly because some characters are their heroes. It's like, hey, I don't want to see my hero. Um, oh, there's other things playing here. What the hell? Some people don't want to see their heroes being cast in a terrible light, but the unfortunate uh, side effect of having characters who are motivated by personal motivations is that at a certain point both you can both be on their side and yet not agree with what they're doing. And uh very good writing allows for us to have a complicated uh complicated set of characters and motivations, and just being like, you know what, I don't agree with what our main character is doing, or in the case of Arcane, having a dozen main characters, and still still follow the show and still root for them, or kind of even avert our eyes and go, oh no, I can't believe they made that decision. um Arcane is so great with that. So uh, didn't plan on trying to have a visual with what we're talking about, but this character is like the Joker of the Arcane world. This character, known as Jinx, is our genius inventor, chaos incarnate. And what was pointed, this is back even in the first season. What I like what was pointed out with this character Jinx is that we s- she suffers from clearly suffers from psychological trauma, and has a heavy dose of some kind of she suffers from some undiagnosed psychosis in the television show, definitely PTSD. And if you go back to season 1, episode 1, when they visually just show her psychosis, where there's like the graffiti that's scratched out in the visually shown, when Vi is hugging her younger sister Jinx, and she's seeing the death and destruction around her when she was a little child. They show flashes of that in that very first scene. Um, Drew says, I was a little sad that Doug Burton seemed not to enjoy the second season as much. I think the show went in overdrive regarding heroine's labyrinth tropes. I agree too. And I'm a little sad he didn't enjoy it as well. I think the second season the visual storytelling of it, they did go hardcore in terms of the of like flexing their muscles a bit. I felt like it was a lot more music video style. Music video meaning like very short, punchy clips, rather than like letting you rest in some of the animation from the first season. But it didn't bother me. I just was like, oh, I think they kicked it up a notch, or or basically the artist team was just like, you thought last season was good. Wait till we show you this one. And because in the second season there's a lot more like black and white, there's watercolors, there's sketching, there's slow motion, there's a morphing and stuff. They do a whole lot more. Um, they're acting on, what is it? They're animating on the ones and twos and fours a lot more, switching that back and forth. Um, the animating on the ones, twos, fours, eights is like um, every every frame. When do they put the animation in it? And sometimes animation is every single frame, so you get 24 frames a second. So on the ones, meaning they're animating it and changing the animation every single second. Um, if they do it on the twos, it's every 2 frames, and if you do it on the fours, it's every 4 frames. The animation changes, and then they layer that one over top of the other and stuff, and then some 3D thing to get the background to merge with the foreground and things like that, blur stuff. Yeah, and I'm a little sad about that too because I did tune into that, and it is very much a heroine's labyrinth. Arcane is very much like that, which I found surprising because I was like, "Oh, that I like that's right up your alley, there, dude." But to every you know to each their own, right? Everyone's got their own particular personality about it. For those who don't know, the heroines, the heroines labyrinth is the opposed storytelling framework to the hero's journey. Um, it is the hero's journey is the uh, I don't want to call it the standard. Yeah, I guess it is kind of a standard idea of the hero going out. Um, uh, a dramatic event happens. The hero is recruited or forced to leave home to go out into the great world and uh, confront a great evil and learn from their have a journey of self discovery to then return home after slaying the dragon. And the heroine's labyrinth is about the one who stays home, who either returns home or is home, and is confronted with, instead of a great dragon on the outside, they're confronted with the masked minotaur inside their own home, and they have to contend with a an antagonist within their home setting, while also uh, con- uh, trying to uh, throw off the shackles of the rules of the society that they are in and confront the evil, even though the society they are in both thinks that our main character must abide by the rules of the society and that they're probably wrong about the masked minotaur that is in their midst. And so I I think that's a good description of the heroine's labyrinth. Uh, but yeah, but even the show even has a labyrinth in it, right? When they go down into, what the hell's the name of the undercity? Piltover, and but I know they want to call it Zon, but it's called something else. Oh, damn it. Uh okay. Wiki Arcane TV show. I don't know if Wikipedia will give me the titles of all the places. Um mm, 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 I'm not going to get it. But all right, we got to get into some specific characters that we can have an homage to. I was going to say Steel, which yeah, kind of works, right? Um, what I love about the show is that we get our stereotypes, and then they flip our heads on the stereotypes. Let's go with some secondary characters. We have characters Marcus and Grayson. Grayson is a character whose voice. Both of these characters, oh, actually Caitlin too. We'll throw Caitlin in there as well. Um, let's let this play out. So Caitlin is a a character that Caitlin Grayson, let me go back. Grayson and Marcus are law enforcers of the city from above. And these law enforcers are tasked with keeping the status quo, keeping the rich, the lanes. Is it called the lanes? I know it's called Zon, or at least that's their desire to make themselves independent and to be in equal footing, I guess, politically and probably economically and things like that. The lanes, yeah, the fissures, because there are the fissures in the second season. I remember them. I know in the first season they probably brought it up, but I know in the second season they talk about the fissures down in the sewers and whatnot. Yeah. So, um, in many tabletop role playing games, we have ourselves soldiers dressed up and the blue coats in this, literally the blue coats in this show, and they go down into the undercity to enforce the law. But we have three characters who have three individual opinions of how to perform that job. And Grayson, uh, who is voiced by what is her name? I'm going to butcher her name, but I love her voice, and she has such a interestingly uh, um, lovely voice. She can read the dictionary for all I care, and her name is Sheree Agdashlu. She is the extremely deep voiced character, political character from uh, The Expanse. She plays Christian Avaralasu, and she's got a super deep voice, and she voices the character Grayson. And as a character, she goes down there and she understands as a law enforcer that, listen, we can pretend like we can come down here and start cracking heads, but maybe that's not the best thing. So she has a relationship, a under um an uh she has an unofficial relationship with Vander. Vander is the daddy. He's the great uncle in the lower city, and people respect Vander's opinion. So she goes to Vander and it's like, listen, things are going to happen, and so she has conversations with him in many ways to warn him, like, listen, if people keep acting up, they're going to send soldiers down here, or they're going to um, uh, make arrests or things like that. She kind of gives him a heads up, and in return, Vander kind of she basically says it to him so he can spread the word to the population, to basically act accordingly. And maybe that's not the best thing to do if you're a law enforcer. You're not supposed to have respect for and have a I scratch your back, you scratch mine kind of mentality. But hey, it's a great character concept and a great way to go. Oh, I'm a law enforcer, but I'm also willing to break the rules, even minorly, to get things done to keep the peace in many ways. And then we have another character below Grayson named Marcus, and Marcus is the proverbial cop on the take. Okay, and I mean, literally, they drop a sack of coins in front of him with blood on it, to make the visual reference that he's taking blood money. And at a certain point in the show, we find out that he's getting this money to care for his daughter, maybe, or leave a legacy for his daughter, or maybe to leave her something to make an apology for the fact that he's kind of went down the dark path of being indebted to, being purchased by the criminals. But there's a lot of people who do that, where they they break a rule slightly and then they break it a little bit more. They walk over that line that they're not supposed to cross, and they rationalize it. And Marcus is one of those characters. Now, rest assured, we don't really have too many soft feelings for Marcus, but it was interesting that just before Marcus's demise, we do get a slight glimpse into his background and motivation, like, please tell my daughter I loved her and I did it for her, or something like that. And many times, I think when it comes to like the good evil, who's good, who's evil um, argument is it's often characterized by how much do we know, how much do we want to know about our enemy, right? Um, the one of the arguments in Star Wars is like, do we really want to know the background of the stormtroopers? Right? Like, do we want to know that they were forced to become stormtroopers, um or that they have kids at home, or they really didn't want to do this, but it was either this or I don't know, indentured servitude in some other kind of job or whatever. Um yeah, it's pretty, it's like that ends up turning the tides. Instead of them being faceless cloned machines of the man, they become real people. And the people don't want to, they don't want that in their storytelling. And does I wonder if that says more about us than it says uh about the concept of our own guilt rather than doing the thing. And Arcane really embraces that idea. Like, you know what? Just because you think one person is doing the right thing, the person on the other side getting punched in the jaw also is the hero of their own story and has their own personal motivations. And I love it. So, our last character, Caitlin. Caitlin is yet another law enforcer from Piltover, the city from above. She's a bit. There's Caitlin. Uh, Caitlin is a bit naive, so she's not weather beaten like the other two guards or guardians. She's a bit naive, and she's thrown into the deep end of what society is like down below, down in the lanes, down in Zon, and ends up bonding with, and dare I say, having a pretty on again, off again relationship with Vi here. There's a picture of those two meeting together, and yeah, they don't show too much, but they do because yeah, Cupcake, hey Cupcake, yeah, there was a bit of an instant bonding there. And what I love about the show is, and I find this pretty hilarious. What I love about the show is that people will complain about, I'll say, non traditional romantic relationships, and nobody had a problem with this. And you know why? Because the characters weren't defined by that aspect. And too often, terrible writing makes characters whose only concept is their sexual preference. And that's terrible writing. It's not wokeism, it's just terrible writing. Uh Vi having, wanting to have a same-sex relationship has nothing to do with her personality. But then when it happened, you're like, oh yeah, I get it. Yeah, I saw that. I get it. Vi's a great character too. Very flawed. I love it because all she does is solve things with her fists. It's difficult for her. She doesn't have much nuance, and we get frustrated because she doesn't really have much nuance. She's like, you're either in front of my fists or behind my. You're like, either I'm punching you or I'm not, and that's about as far as I'm taking it. But yeah, she's also pretty passionate, which I think Caitlin really was like. Yeah, I never get that from the city from above. Um, Also, pretty interesting turn that Vi, someone who we would have thought is a character who's um, very very much a hmm. Oh, okay, okay. I was just like, what happened? Vi, who's very much a character who embodies the lanes. Like her survival instincts down in the lanes is everything. And for her to at a certain point turn and become one of the soldiers, one of the law enforcers, at least temporarily, to go after Jinx is a bit of a turn and kind of amazing, and I like it. So those are the law enforcers. Now, down in the lanes, we've got Vi, we've got Jinx, Echo kind of fits into that. there's Echo with the short dreads. There he is, flipping over, dodging the firearm and whatnot, while Jinx tries to and then nope, right in the kisser. Amazing shot right there. This is so amazing. Anyway, um, uh, we know that many of the characters that live down in the lanes, Savika there, and all of them, they're street runners, and not all of the air quotes criminalized street runners are evil. Also, not all of them are very criminalized, nor do they want to be. Right? They are put in a position where many times they have to be, and so robbing, stealing, street violence, stealing from the rich people from above, that kind of thing is necessary to survive down in the lanes. And the each of the characters has their own particular motivations. Savika is, I would dare say, beyond Vi, who's one of our main protagonists. Savika is very much embodies the lanes. She doesn't want to be part of the society from above. Savika, with her cybernetic arm, um, still believes in Silco's idea that maybe Zon could be an independent nation. Um, Jinx, the one that's unfortunately suffering from her psychological trauma and spreading her PTSD as far and as wide as she can with her devices stuff. That if I would join the Peanut Patrol is something to people who play League of Legends already knew that would happen. See, I know nothing about League of Legends, and and although in the first season I did hear some people talking about like when the flip would happen, because some of the characters are like not quite there yet when it comes to the main characters, such as like I heard Victor hasn't made his ultimate transformation. There's some other characters, and I was like, I don't know what that's about. Um, yeah, even Powder to Jinx was a thing because some people were like, "Well, she's got to become Jinx," and of course, when she said, "You're just a Jinx," some people were like, "Oh yeah, I get it." Uh, yeah, I don't know anything about the video game at all. Like I don't even know what the main characters look like from the video game. I hope that Savika will eventually also become a playable champion. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, and I like Savika's character too because initially we think she's just a big bully, right? She's got this. Yes, we even find out in the show she eventually loses her arm, and her arm in the course of battle and whatnot. And then she gets the cybernetic arm, and then it gets ripped off, and then she gets another one, and it gets its little improvements and whatnot. But we also find out like Savika Bessa recently became a champion in the game. I didn't even know she wasn't a character. When I saw what is her last name? Medarda. When I saw Medarda, I was just like, oh, I thought she was like one of the playable characters in the game, considering how like imposing she was. I was like, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. I did not know that. Yeah, yeah. Uh, Mbessa is Mel's mom, and she's a badass warrior. It's like wow. But yeah, so many of the characters. The character Mel, the political manipulator, who doesn't manipulate with physical force, but does with like seduction and deceit and temptation and whatnot. And her mom, who is Medarda, Mbessa Medarda, is like this scarred, muscular, physically imposing powerhouse, and how she kind of thinks of her daughter as like failing, but her daughter actually has power in a different way, and her daughter still has a glimpse of her humanity still exists inside of her in some ways. Mel is also not yet a champion, but I'm sure she will become one. She's such a great support mage in the show. Yeah, and we're even discovering that she has some power within her, um, that we're starting to find out. And I'm sure I haven't seen it yet, but I'm sure she used that power to defend herself and some of the others around her. She's from the upper city as well. The Jason Victor, another group. I part of me wishes they upped the ante with Jason Victor because I kind of feel like they weren't just a bromance. I kind of feel like they should have had a bit of a romance, but they didn't go there in the show. But I think it perfectly fits in it, with Jace and Victor being like having a true bromance, and Jace being like the wide shouldered, very handsome dude, tinkerer. Forger that wants to change the city and has ambitions of moving up. Actually, well, initially didn't really have ambitions of being political. He just wanted to harness the power that he called hex tech because of a very simple. His life was saved by a mage, an actual mage, and how that colored the way he looked at the world and thought that magic could be harnessed or the arcane could be harnessed as a technology and to make life better. And what a great motivation, right? Just a simple inciting element just made Jace even better. And also, there's a little bit. Let's be honest. The difference between Jace being this handsome, tall, handsome, wide-shouldered, V-shaped dude. There's a little bit of jealousy with the other male onlookers, right? And how they don't play in it too much, but Jace is kind of a hottie, right? And Victor isn't in a certain way where Victor is sickly, and Victor is also a tinkerer, and Victor also wants to create things, and Victor also wants society to be better, but Victor also wants to make himself better because he's suffering from like an undisclosed frailty that the arcane is able to that the hex tech he's able to harness, and then it eventually embodies him. And heck, even Victor's guilt when his creation kills the assistant that in very very subtle ways the assistant we find out the assistant kind of has a crush on Victor because yeah, while Jace might be the hottie, there's also the lone sufferer that can also be very attractive to some people. And the young lady that was his assistant that he really didn't pay attention to got killed, and he's like, damn it, I wasn't even paying attention to her. And literally becomes the angel on his shoulder to that he's trying to make amends for, and the guilt and stuff. It just so these characters got so complicated over you, how the animation and storytelling just did a very simplistic way of describing what these characters were like. Um, Heck, even Silco, our bad guy, from the first season, even Silco, who is trying to fight for the rights of the people in the undercity, in Zon, his dream of creating Zon, an independent nation. And Silco is by any means necessary kind of guy. uh, and he's even complicated because we end up finding out, like, he becomes a drug dealer, and he's like a master criminal, and he's got people on his side that are willing to kill for him. And then he's he he sees uh powder and realizes, similar to his best friend Xander, maybe I should care. Like, he sees within. Ooh, there's even. Here we go. I'm going to even pause it right. Wow, the timing on that was perfect. Um, Here we have Silco, and Silco is our proverbial bad guy in the show. If we had to have one from the first season, and a young girl falls in his arms, and all of a sudden, like, his paternal instinct kicks in. He's like, "Ooh, this is the this is the physical embodiment of what I'm trying to protect down here," and he becomes her dad, in her surrogate dad. And his loyalty between taking the city and doing whatever is necessary and protecting her, and encouraging her and supporting Jinx anyway, because he feels like she's not Powder any longer. She is Jinx, not a Jinx, but she is Jinx. Even Savika has problems with it. It's really cool. It's like it's the yin yanging of a thing. He's like, meat space intervening today. You're all right. Um, yeah, it's that's so cool, so cool. Um, I suppose. Let's see if I can call up the image here. Um, there, um, the the yin yanging of in storytelling is um, and yes, I am purposefully not talking about well, let me get a bigger one here. No, I'm not talking about the actual um, historical or purpose of this. I'm talking about the yin yanging of storytelling, and what I mean by that is um, many times great characters, great locations, great motivations are created that the white portion of the yin yang symbol might have just a little darkness in it when our main hero has something we may not necessarily agree with that they have in their background, their story, their desire, their motivation. And yet our bad guy might look at and go, "Oh, I don't like them at all. I don't agree with anything that they do." Except they have this soft spot. They have something, there's a focus of light, maybe something in their background or their motivation. They care for something. And many times, while as simplistic as yin yanging storytelling can be, it also can give us it allows us to empathize with either side. We can empathize with our hero who's mostly good and pure and white, who has a terrible habit that we don't agree with, and we get frustrated when our great hero does the wrong thing because they're motivated by a terrible thing. Many classic historically, many classic heroes have suffered from this. Gilgamesh and Hercules are examples of this, who have great anger, or they suffer from a vice, or they are tempted by something. Ladies, gold, women, um, wealth, prestige, easily offended by things and whatnot. And then sometimes we have our villain who's doing very terrible, evil things, but maybe they love animals, or they're taking care of a loved one, or in their own mind they think that they're the good guy and that they are doing it to protect people, or they're doing all these terrible things because maybe in their own background they were harmed or tortured or suffered something that and no one cared and ignored them. And so uh, Arcane does a very good job of the yin yanging of the storytelling, blending it so much that it doesn't even have those very defined separations. It's more uh, I'm trying to see if I'm trying to find a yin yang that's like a watercolor, where it's kind of like blended and bending off to the sides and whatnot. But yeah, very much like that. I would even say, oh, here's a triple blender one, and which is not just yin yang, but it's three cycles, three tsunamis, I guess you could say, and each part has something in between. And are these motivations or loyalties or um, um, pathways that each of the characters are taking? And there's a little bit of each other side in the one before it or after it, and I like that a lot. I like it a lot. Silco is such a great dad figure. I love how he has stuff that is colored by Jinx on his table all the time. We don't. We really haven't. I'm not. I'm not a channel for that, but I noticed that the animation, whoever was the art director for this show is brilliant, because you are correct. Silco on his desk and around him had things that were homages to Jinx when he started raising her. And that is so cool, right? Because in the background or like on the table, the color schemes and things like that. Yeah, yeah. Heck, they even went overboard with in the second season. Oh, there was something like colored blue, because Jinx has the long blue braided locks, and that all the characters that were on Jinx's side started like spray painting things blue, and they were dyeing their hair blue, and they did that video montage of like of of blue spray paint and blue scars and blue um what do you there's an old this used to be a mistake back in ye olden days, when things were actually put on film. Sometimes the film would get scratched, and the scratching were these artifacts where the light would pass through it, and it was like a scratch, and it was a bright white light. And they use that in this. Yeah, paint the town blue. That's it. Yeah. And both physically and metaphorically, they were painting the town blue. uh, yeah, now that was purposefully on the nose, but yeah, sometimes you could even see like with Caitlyn and Vi. Caitlyn and Vi kind of did that a little bit, where each of them had a little aspect of the other one, even to the point where Vi puts on the enforcer outfit for a short time, and then Caitlyn's outfit changes, her hairstyle changes. She gets more as they got older. Caitlyn got more severe in her face and her mannerism, and she starts wearing. She ends up. Medarda puts the cloak on her, and then she's just walking around with the slightly vampiric lord cloak with the tall collar and whatnot. Yeah, I like the visualizations they do in this show. And come on, even though it's on its head, it's actually kind of cool. You can kind of steal that for tabletop role playing games too, right? Like just to steal the idea of people's eye color changing and the clothes that they wear and the symbols around them starting to show the shifts and changes in how society is operating. Like in our own games, if the rule of law starts collapsing, then you're going to see uh, yeah, Dictator Kate is great. Yeah, I love it. I was just like, damn, she's straight up like. There's something about the cloak that's like, yeah, I don't need to flex my will. Um, I don't need to physically flex. I'm going to flex with my personality. Like, uh, there's a casual laziness to evil and a dictatorship that happens where that the least movement from the character means that they're flexing great power. They don't have to be flamboyant, and I love it. Yeah. And her rifle's got all the moving parts on it now. Yeah, it's great. Everything has to click and move and turn and spray steam and whatnot. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for letting me just show this thing off just a little bit. Um, and just to engage in this show, I think the show's great. Drew says she even made her own arm candy with Maddie. Yeah, she sure did. And so I've already mentioned Maddie. She is an interesting subversion of the fragile power. Ooh, yeah, yeah. I wonder if this is just my own opinion. Uh, does Maddie know that Caitlyn's not really into her? Like, is this who's in control here? Is Maddie like, um, if I stick by her side, I can kind of then like manipulate her, motivate her, stay in a safe zone, or is Caitlyn just basically using her as a emotional emotional pillow until she can get the person she really wants, which is Vi. I don't know, which I like too, because it makes that relationship complicated and questionable, and I love it. uh, Even listen, what I couldn't have been the only one that was like a little weirded out when Silco back in the first season, and Silco was sitting at his desk, and uh Jinx slides and slithers and slinks into his lap as a young girl. I was just like, oh, I can't believe they put this in the show. Now, mind you, Silco never they never gave allusions to the fact that Silco had anything other than a fatherly, if a little slightly negligent care for um, his adopted daughter, but she was a little bit on the. Oh man, I love it. There's the dead. She ended up killing her two best friends by accident because of her actions. She's still suffering from that. Mm-mm-mm. Yeah, that was what were their names? I can't remember their names. Mm-mm-mm. But oh well. Yeah, great, excellent show. Excellent show. You got to really check it out. It's what was the first season was 9 parts. I don't even know how long the second season is. But anyway, guys, I'm not going to hold you too long. I definitely got to get back into it. Got to get ready for work. You guys have a great weekend. Milo and Clagger, yes, Milo, and even Clagger wasn't the even though he was the even though a person like myself built kind of like Clagger a bit, um, he wasn't. They didn't make him out to be. Uh, they didn't make his girth his only trait, which I liked. Second season is also 9 episodes. Thank you very much. I'm that means I'm at the halfway point because I'm on episode 5, I believe. Yeah. Hope you all have a nice to another arbitrary fraction of eternity. You too. You too. Thank you very much. So, guys, have a great one. I'm going to take us out here. Everyone have a great time. Yes, definitely. If you haven't checked out the show, please do. If you've already checked out the show and you would like to, oh, look at that imagery. Yeah, very much the idea how they visually displayed the insanity, and I love it. Um, but yeah, take another look at it if for your own storytelling, and I think you'd have a great idea to go. Oh, yeah, if I take my character and give him a little bit of a twist, taking your bad guy and giving him a dependent this person takes care of, or they donate money to a religious organization, or they always help old ladies across the street, even though they're evil, or they are fans of fine art and listen to great music, or they um, they are very cordial and love drinking chai across the table from their enemies before they engage in dangerous, brutalistic battles, or before they kill their enemies, they ask about their loved ones, and they tell them that they will care for their loved ones and give them money and make sure that they are safe or something like that, right? And you're like, I hate the bad guy, but I kind of respect them a little bit. And then, of course, our heroes that are might be impulsive, or, Vi, who likes to solve everything with her fists. One of her defining character traits that ends up making a huge change in the show is after Powder, who becomes Jinx, makes the mistake of accidentally killing her best friends. What does Vi do? Vi punches her in the face as a child. Now, mind you, they were both young and they were both underage, so you can also forgive their underage antics. But it was a defining moment in their relationship between these two sisters, and we don't agree that Vi should have punched her sister in the face, but we also agree, yeah, I at the moment, slap. The hell were you doing, right? Um, I think that it was a great um storytelling moment to make these characters on either side of to create a divide between both, while both of them acted and reacted in the way that they could, and that's great. That is excellent storytelling. So guys, have a great one. Thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. And everyone, have a great day, have a great weekend. Hopefully we'll probably have a show Sunday, which is not normally Monday through Friday, but I can guarantee, as heavy as the packages are coming in, I'm a letter carrier, and as heavy as the mail and packages are coming in, I'm sure they're going to change our schedule. I know before even our supervisors and managers know, but whatever. So we probably got to come in early and then leave late. So whatever. But that's part of it. It's real life. So guys, have a great one. I'll see you later. Peace. Have a great weekend. Bye.